Hey everyone, welcome to Coaching Genius Lives. So glad you can join us. If you're new to our channel, do remember to hit the subscribe button and notification bell to stay tuned with all the latest updates that we have for you. Now, in our channel, we present to you new ideas, new concepts every single week with fresh insights, into coaching, into leadership, into speaking, and we are doing this to really help improve the world around us and to help people to create better engagement with each other, because communication is key in this new generation. Now, today we're going to talk about planning and goal setting, and what that is and what does that entail in the conversational process. Now, so this applies not just to coaches, but it applies to speakers, leaders, teams, because the planning and goal setting process is going to be very, very important in understanding how do we design something, how do we plan out, how do we narrow them down, how do we actually create something sustainable for the client. So let's take a look at this. Now, ICF defines planning and goal setting as the ability to develop and maintain an effective coaching plan with the client. Ability to develop and maintain an effective coaching plan with the client. So what do we mean by ability to create an effective plan? Well, really, before this, you have designed a series of actions. You have brainstormed several ideas, brainstormed several components for you to explore with the client. The next step is to really, how do we prioritize this? How do we manage this? How do we actually know what to use first? How do we categorize them? How do we classify them? How do we actually move the conversation forward? How do we actually make this into reality for the client? Now, that's when we begin to approach this through this process, right? Known as planning and goal setting. Let's take a look at several components that you can think about in helping you to do just that. Number one, it consolidates collected information and establishes a coaching plan and development goals with the client that addresses concerns and major areas for learning and development. Next, creates a plan which with results that are attainable, measurable, specific, and have targeted dates. Next, makes plans adjustments as warranted by the coaching process and by changes in the situation, and helps the client identify and assess different resources for learning, example, books, other professionals, other resources that they can tap on, identifies and targets early successes that are important to the client. So what we're trying to do here in this process is really helping the client to say, hey, let's plan out how we're going to do the next few steps forward, putting all the different steps in place, and also helping the client to see what are some potential barriers that might come in place. Right? As we're approaching this, what do you think are some potential barriers that might hinder you? And what are some additional resources that could help support you? So yes, the coach might have some resources that can help the client, but what are additional resources that the client might use or could utilize as well? The next thing to think about as well is to celebrate success. Now, we're not saying celebrate with a big party. We're saying that, hey, every single milestone, how do we celebrate? How do we be thankful for it? How do we be grateful? And this celebration will help the client to create momentum to move forward in every step of the way. Now, we're not saying to celebrate only at the end. We're saying that every single step of the way, we can actually celebrate the moment with the client, because every single step will be a step forward to help the client gain deeper clarity, deeper understanding, and help the client to really experience totality in whatever they're doing. Okay, so that's a step by step and creating a celebration. So, for example, you could ask, "Hey, Mr. Klein, how would you celebrate? If you're able to accomplish this first step, what would you do to celebrate yourself?" Well, the client can say, "Well, I will do this, I'll do that." Okay, and if you hit the next milestone, how would you celebrate? Great. If you hit the next milestone, how would you celebrate? Great. So every single milestone, we would like to celebrate with the client how they're able to achieve that. Because sometimes delayed gratification might produce some results, but sometimes a little milestone, right? Little things and little encouragement, like saying that, hey, maybe if I'm able to achieve this in the next 1 week, I will pat myself on my back, right? Or maybe I would just buy something for myself, or I may just go and watch a movie as a way to celebrate. We're not saying that to buy a car. We're not saying to get those extravagant things. That may be the end goal, right? But in the short term, how do we set little milestones to really encourage us forward? Because at the end of the day, if the project will last 1 year or 2 years, now can you imagine the momentum it requires? A lot of energy. So in the process of planning and goal setting, we want to create little celebratory moments, little milestones where we can say, hey, we reached the halfway mark. Hey, we reached the quarter mark. Hey, we reached the 3/4 marks. We're almost there. We're just almost there, encouraging ourselves and to help the client to move forward in the process. Okay, so now I'm going to show you the ICF competency rating list, and that will help you understand the different layers from the ACC, PCC, MCC level. Now, if you want to find out more about all these things, do remember to join us in one of our classes in Mastering Coaching. That's when we help people to the ACC level. Team Leadership Performance Coaching, that's where I help people to the PCC level. And if you want to go for your MCC level, do join us in our Coaching Intelligence program. Really exciting stuff. We're going to go deeper in all these competencies in just those programs. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Now, the ICF defines it as this, that the ability to develop and maintain an effective coaching plan with the client, partnering with the client to develop goals that are smart, specific, measurable, attractive or attainable and realistic and have target dates, staying aware of the client's plan, learning style, pace, commitment to the goal, and identify successes that are important to the client. At the ACC level, the coach tends to adopt goals suggested by the client at the most obvious level. So whatever the client says, oh, okay, let's take it as it is. But you never really explore further. And planning and goal setting tend to be one-dimensional in nature, with the coach sometimes substituting his or her expertise for the clients. So sometimes as a coach, you might suggest to the client rather than actually helping the client to see them through. At the PCC level, the coach engages in some, but not a complete partnership with the client to develop goals and plans. Again, the actions are tuned to solving the situational issues that the client has presented, rather than looking beyond the situation to other broader learnings that might be inherent in the situation. So this is similar to the designing of actions. We want to look beyond what's the immediate now and now. And the coach tends to edit plans presented by the client. So whatever you hear from the client, you tend to shape it in the way that makes sense to you as a coach rather than to the client. At the MCC level, we're going to go deeper than that. We're going to see that how the coach works with the client to clarify and develop goals that achieve more than just the presenting the concerns of the client. And the coach lets the client lead in the designing goals and planning, or in the alternative, works in complete partnership with the client to create goals and plans. And coach and the client create goals and plan that fit the client's goals, learning styles, and pace of wanted or necessary movement. And the coach also allows plans to include the thinking, creating, and doing. And the coach engages the client in relating goals and plans and other aspects of what the client wants, and thereby broadening the scope of learning and growth. At the end, what we're doing here is we're not imposing on the client that this is the way you should do it. That is the way you should do it. We're not saying that every single thing must be so smart. No, every single process, every single step of the way, it's always client-led, where the client wants to be. Client-focused, client-led, person-focused, and that's what we say about the person approach coaching process. It's really about the person, not about us. It's about the client, not about us. So what we're doing in this whole process of planning and goal setting is that how do we plan every single step of the way that encourages the client? There's some celebratory moments, and also it's not something that we think that that's wrong, that's right. No, it also allows the client to be fully playing all out. So working the plans and goals not just at the surface level, at the obvious level, but listening, underlying it. How would those plans fit into the larger picture of the client? How would it fit into the greater ecology of the person? How would it tie in with all the different facets across the multiple sessions that we have the client? How do those things come together? Okay, so that's what we're going to look at in the subsequent sessions as well. How do we bring all this together? So competency number 11 ties nicely with competency 9, 10, and 11 all coming together as one. So I said in the previous video that 9, 10, and 11 are often looked as one lump rather than separate individuals. We want to see them as one together because all three will help the client to facilitate learning and growth. Okay, so I want you to go deeper in this. So take a read at the ICF competency rating list. If you have questions, do post them down in the comment section below, and I'll be more than happy to engage with you. Now, so stay tuned to some of our exciting events. So if you're new to Coaching Changes Lives, do head over to our Facebook page, click like button, right, and to follow us because we have a lot of new exciting videos and events that were coming up to really support community, our coaching community all around the world. So whichever school you're from, we welcome you to come and learn and share with us. Okay, so until next time, this is Jedidiah here at Coaching Changes Lives.